You know, because like no, like if you and I were talking outside of
Yeah.
this, like just on without headphones, without the good mics, it's nice. But it feels like you're in a vacuum.
Yeah, I agree. I can't even hear the man outside.
Yeah, the man
The weed whacker
deciding
man.
to cut grass right now. Anyway,
Could be worse. The guy who does the contract, because I live on Hatfield, who does he does a really good job, but he starts at 6 a.m.
oh really?
Yeah, with a big petrol.
Yeah. But 6 a.m. I mean, it's if you're a late riser, it sucks. But I'm up at like 5:30, so it's not that bad.
See, that might be my toxic trait, because yesterday when I had that meeting, I told you when I went to go see the brewery, they're like, hey, can you meet me at 8:30? And I thought, what kind of psychopath has a meeting at 8:30?
Yeah, I feel like as you get older or there's a bit more, dare I say, like, and this is not a shot at you, but just like stability in terms
Oh, I
of
have
like,
no stability.
like a relationship, or if you're married, or
Yeah.
have a kid or whatever, you're like forced to adopt this like cycle. And I was never an early riser, but I feel like I have just been like, I have to get up early, because if I don't, I feel like I'm wasting the day.
Okay, fair enough.
Which, I mean, before I used to wake up late and then go to bed late and then whatever. But then I don't know. Something about waking up early makes me feel like I'm maximizing the day. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I haven't measured my levels of productivity.
As long as you feel that way, that's all that's important.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah. So welcome. Anyway,
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you on. I'm not gonna. Yeah, you're
Come
like
on, butter me up. Do it.
Yeah. You're amazing. We love you. Yeah, I never had a ginger on, so
Oh, fuck.
that's why I asked you to be here. But yeah, no, thanks, man. I appreciate it. We've been friends a while.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would love to have someone who's like have a previous relationship with, but offers the same things we're looking for, which is to discuss new ideas. And you're like you have a plethora of new ideas, and every time we hang out, like we always talk about them. So I just thought it'd be cool to like, mess around and just discuss what's possible. People who are new to the show might not know that, you're a comebacky.
Comebacky. Yeah. 6 months strong.
6 months already?
Yeah. May 8th is when I got here, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are Guyanese.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have people coming back in and coming with new ideas. And it's also nice that, you haven't really decided yet, but you're not just back for the oil and gas stuff.
Oh, no, I'm back. I'm all in. I mean, I sold
Yeah.
everything in Australia, right? Like I have nothing over there anymore.
So just,
sorry.
go ahead.
Mum's over there, obviously, and I have infrastructure, but nothing that I actually own is in Australia anymore.
Right. But so just for context's sake, what was, can you just briefly remind me of your sort of journey from living here to going away to coming back?
Okay. So when I really didn't want to go to university at all. I had this crazy idea that I was going to waste all my time, and we have limited time on this planet. It's really dumb. You should always go to university for whatever reason. If you can do it, do it.
Yeah.
I was good at math, and my family's in mining, so they said, go do mining engineering. So I went to a place called Ballarat outside of Melbourne, and did that. I faffed around for about 2 years, and then decided I wanted to do business instead, because I really didn't like engineering. There's too many rigid rules and structures, and I was a little bit more creative. And
yeah, well, you've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I remember that. You always,
I always talked a lot of shit.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say was a hustler. But
Well,
same
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then, right before I finished university, and how I graduated university is a whole nother story, but that's, anyway, right before I finished, I started Deliver, like the food logistics software company. Did that for 5.5 years.
So like Uber Eats.
Yeah, we
or
competed
GT
against
Eats,
like,
what we have here.
well, yeah.
Okay.
yeah, exactly. We competed against Uber and DoorDash and all the big boys. So in lockdowns, I don't know if you know, Melbourne had the longest lockdowns in the world.
I didn't know.
Yeah, we were almost
Thought
locked
it was
down.
Trinidad.
No, we were almost total. It was almost 300 and it was almost a whole year.
Okay.
Over the year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was.
Sorry, before you go on to that, I'm assuming the food delivery service tanked during COVID.
No, 4x overnight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I became a millionaire overnight.
No way.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was. Oh, sorry, don't mean to smile. I know a lot of.
A million in revenue.
Yeah, but like total value. Yeah, we
Okay.
just. Yeah.
Okay.
We went from like doing, I think I was projecting to do like almost $1 million to like 3 that year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way they had run it was all of our drivers were contracted as you do in the model.
Yeah.
But then all my support were also contracted across the world. Like, so all of my fixed costs stayed the same. So when revenue went up,
Yeah.
then so did the margin. And
Fantastic.
it was a good time. It was,
Wow.
well, we really shouldn't have done as well as we did. It's again, the world literally had to end
Mm-hmm.
for me to make any sort of money. And for a time, we were like the most profitable food delivery platform in the world, which really doesn't say much because we were just one tiny place that happened to make a few $100,000 a year, you know? But
that ranking is always changing anyway with the amount of food delivery.
it just so happened that Uber and DoorDash and no one had been profitable ever
Right.
until I think it was last year, early this year. So just, it's a nice thing to just say to things,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
means
yeah.
nothing because we were just tiny.
Yeah.
But it's and then in 2020, because we're just doing so well, and I just kind of got burnt out and just tired from the whole monotonous of like, wake up, work 10 hours, go to sleep, So my ex and I, we were drinking a lot, as you do, cocktails on Tuesdays. She worked from home. She was like a logistics expert, and we're just like, oh, we should do a project together. Let's do alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do espresso martinis, because I feel like anything you do anywhere in the world, it needs to be culturally significant.
Yeah, exactly. To the market.
Otherwise, you're just wasting your time.
And espresso martini is a big thing in Australia.
The drink of Melbourne, all right?
Really?
Yeah, and it's catching on the right, but like it's the Melbourne
It
drink.
is a nice drink.
Yeah.
But to me though, I can't. Obviously, there's a ton of people in Melbourne or in Australia, and I love espresso
It
martinis.
is I
but
promise you.
I couldn't drink like over 3 in one
No,
night,
three is probably the magic number. 3 is
Yeah.
almost too many.
Yeah.
But if you go anywhere, if you are a self-respecting 20 to 40-year-old woman in Melbourne, you are drinking espresso martinis. Right? It's
That's true.
it's a good time. You have 2 or 3 or something. So that was obviously the way we wanted to go, and we liked a good espresso martini. And Melbourne has huge coffee culture, probably some of the best, if not the best, coffee in the world.
Yeah, love coffee.
Yeah, so it just kind of all the stars aligned on that made sense. But I think we touched on this. I don't think it got recorded last time, but I'm of the firm belief that anybody can do anything, right? Once you just kind of figure it out. It's just a game. You got to write down the rules, like I told you in the car the other day,
Yeah.
and then figure out how to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, to do alcohol, which is incredibly regulated in Australia, you need all sorts of licenses, right? You need infrastructure. You need like all the overhead. You need a lot of money, and you need know-how. And we had nothing, right? We had none of this. We're just 2 people locked up who were probably a little bit drunk when we came up with it.
As most good ideas
Yeah, of
are
course.
formed.
Of course. So, the obvious thing is, well, what you need to do is, and we could get into this later as well, when I moved to Guyana, what I've been doing, but what you need to do is create a list of the people who have the power and the resources and the assets, and then figure out how to borrow it, right? Create value for both of you, but borrow it.
Yeah.
So I just went and Googled, and I found Google distilleries in Ballarat, which is the city we're in. There happened to be 1. Now there's like 4, but at the time there was 1. And I called them and rattled off. I think that as we come out of COVID, we're gonna have more house parties. We're gonna be entertaining. We're gonna be focusing on the joy of life, and we're missed everybody and what.
So you sold them why they need your alcohol.
Well, the first time I called, the woman was like, "Oh, that sounds great, but I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just a saleswoman." So she gave me the guy who owns it, Chris Pratt, and I was like, "Oh." She's like, "No.
Different Chris Pratt.
Different Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Lovely older Scottish gentleman."
Gotcha.
So I called him, and before he could get a breath in, I was like, "This is who I am," and this blah blah. Give him the full spiel, and he's like, "Well, actually, fortunately for you, I had just come out of an industry meeting where we were saying the exact same things, like RTDs in sub-premium to premium categories, well made is going to be the thing, and it is actually the thing now. Like in Australia, at least, the amount of bottled cocktails and it's more about like bottling an experience, huge.
Yeah.
But we just happen to be at the beginning of it, right?
Yeah.
And
Right place, right time.
yeah, the universe likes me.
Yeah,
I say that a lot, but it's you create your own luck, I think. But so he was like, "Sure, sounds good. Have at it." So he gave me some base gin, like because he's a gin distillery.
Okay.
So it was a very, very light run. And it was very, like, you're not really supposed to. But anyway, he left a couple liters for us and we experimented. And for months, I tried to, like, I Googled, I talked to my bartender friends. I was trying to, like, because having an idea is one thing, but having to follow up on the shit that you've talked is a whole nother thing. And, like, it all suddenly
A lot
hit.
of work, right?
Well, it suddenly hit me that I'm not a food scientist, right?
Yeah.
But I'm desperately trying. And I was like, I had cocoa nibs and vanilla beans. And I'm just trying everything I possibly can. And that was for months. And I was dodging his calls and, like, because we kept having these, like sample nights with all of our friends.
Yeah.
And we bought all the other ones on the market. Because again, there was like 4 more on the market that was just coming up.
Like major espresso martini brands.
Yeah, not even major, just like, because Australia has a big craft movement. And there's a like an alcohol super center chain called Dan Murphy's.
Yeah.
And they're very good at connecting, smaller producers into the world and distributing and stuff. So we had a big Dan Murphy's. We just go, we get the other 4, and ours would always rank second. We're like, well, second's not good enough, right? Because if we're going to do something, like, don't half-ass something.
Yeah.
And one day, I kind of figured out that, like, so the one that kept doing, like, the best, it was made by Carlton Breweries, which is, like, the largest brewery in Australia, and probably that part of the world.
Yeah.
And I found that actually they used a lab in New Zealand, and they bought a flavor profile, and I tracked it all down because they didn't say the names, but they had, like, the codes of everything. And they were using the base of their espresso martini ready to drink was a creme de coco flavor. So just chocolate, which explains why theirs tasted like chocolate milk almost.
Yeah.
So I just called the lab and I bought the one next to it, which happened to be the Kahlua, which is the Kahlua base, like, flavor profile.
Oh, nice.
Right. So then we locked that one down. And then from there, they supplied us with, like, the complex blend of glucose, sucrose. And they just, like, overnight, all of a sudden, we went from having to make this super artisanal weird thing that wasn't shelf stable to having a product that consistently ranked higher than any of others, including Carlton's, right? We just hit a home run, like, instantly. And the distillery recognized that, and then we went into production, like, within a couple of weeks, and we had the label. It was great. We sold out instantly and then kept going and going and going. But then last year, when I decided that I wanted to do, like, a little bit of a sabbatical because I was kind of burnt out and moved to Barbados and work remotely, the deal became like an IP deal. So instead of us doing all the work, they would do all the work and then just write us a check for the recipe that we'd created.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you're no longer involved, really?
Well, no, when we broke up, I gave her the company.
Your ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, so you just basically kind of sold it off then.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she still collects a check every quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's the brilliance of, like, it's why I think I'm so, and I talk about this all the time. I refuse to do a job because I mean, personally, I feel like the work that I put in one day is worth more than the money you get for a day.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if I create something, there's a residual for that for the rest of your life.
Sure.
I gotta get a piece of that. If you're gonna create magic,
Yeah. It's funny that a lot of people here, and again, I know we're not done your trajectory from leaving to moving back.
Yeah.
But I just want to interject that I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people here look at entrepreneurship as this, like, fast check, this like this sort of overnight lottery.
Yeah.
And it's a big misconception. I myself, when I first started, doing my business, which has been going for 6-7 years now, I wasn't trying to win the lottery overnight, but I did feel like, oh, I have all this cash in hand, I'm good now.
Oh, I've been there.
It's never your cash, you know
No.
what I mean? And, like, to survive and grow, it's just not the case. And you're sort of, how you look at money is such a critical thing in a business,
And you know what? We're always evolving.
Yeah.
Because the way I look at money now is very different than the way I looked at money, like, when I was 26. When, like, what I sometimes forget, and what I think a lot of people, especially in Australia around me at the time, kind of forgot, was for the last 2 years, I rolled around like I was God, right? Like, I felt like a king because I was doing so well, and I had created systems, and I had an office here, an office there, and, like, we had people doing all the hard yards. But for the first 3 years was absolute agony where I earned nothing, right?
Yeah.
So actually, if you did an average over the 5.5, I did a very median okay, but I did it on my own terms, so I was very happy with it.
Yeah. So
It's,
after running or starting and running 2 fairly successful businesses,
There's a
Well,
lot of failures in the mix, by the way.
how long would you tell someone you need to invest and eat shit before you actually, whether you start making or not, whether you're when you can be comfortable with your business? What is like the period of suffering that you really have to go through to be born in the fire for a business?
Well, I have no idea on that, man. Because again, we're all evolving as humans, and like I've been reading a lot about like one of my greatest mistakes I think with Deliver was when we started making real money. What I should have done is like, and again, like in retrospect, is the minute I could afford to, hired someone to run the whole thing,
Yeah.
and then I could go on to the next project, right? Someone who was way smarter than I was to go and start doing that. So it's really, you got to be prepared to put in like a lot of hard yards, a lot of bullshit. Like if you think you're gonna make money in the first month, I don't know, good luck. But
Yeah.
like there's a couple projects, and we'll talk about it later. But as we get into the podcast, but there's a couple that I'm kind of working on now that I know is not gonna come to fruition for at least a year, right? It's, but then again, there's another one that like the dehydrated cocktail garnish project was almost instant as well. So that's like that was great.
I want you to hold that thought.
Yeah.
So, you sold you started Deliver, you sold that off.
Yeah. No. Deliver was a catastrophic but contained explosion.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So when everything started back up.
Yeah. So, everything started to go back down. And it just so happened the optics were horrible, right? Because it did not go down well with some people in Australia where, because I was quite burnt out. So I had designed this entire system all of 2021 that I was going to leave Australia and go to Barbados for the year and just refresh, sit on a beach all year.
Right, yeah.
So I had a whole office in the Philippines with like 3 or 4 staff, and they were trained all year to figure it out, and they're getting very good. What had happened was in early 2022, after I had left Australia already, the first, like the catalyst of everything was when actually Russia invaded Ukraine. That sounds hilarious to say, but like our sales halved day on day because I think we'd been like told for the last couple of years that the world had ended, right? So the consumers had PTSD. And then we're told, oh, World War III is happening, right? So everyone stopped spending money. And then it started to, it crept back up. But at the same time, something weird, like 2 other things that happened. One, in 2020, Australia had shut its borders down, which means that no international students can come in, which is Australia's 4th largest export, like bringing people in for school. But also, they're the majority of people who did food deliveries, right? As like side gigs while they're working. So what happened was, as their visas ended and their university degrees ended, they all left, but it wasn't replenished. So all of hospitality around the whole country punished, right? Which punished us as well. So our average cost of delivery went from like $10 to like eventually closer to 17, right? So like, and we were only making $4 a delivery. So for the first time ever, we started losing money on orders. And then the Australian interest rate crisis happened and it happened in the US and the UK as well, where every single like couple months, the RBA just kept like increasing the interest rates. Now, there's 2 things significant about Australia. One, how the American dream is to buy a house and settle down.
Yeah.
The Australians love that. They snorted like coke, right? They're just like, we must buy a house the minute you turn 22. So we have all these young people.
22, that's early.
Well, it's just the dream. If you're not buying a house early, like they think something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of young people in the market who bought houses when interest rates were cheap, but then as they climb up, all of a sudden find themselves in positions where they can't afford it, right? And then who's the majority of people? Like what's our greatest, our customer base was 18 to 35-year-olds, and those happen to be the same people who bought all that, like a lot of houses in 2020 at cheap interest rates. So as it came up, they spent less on luxury goods, and of course, the first thing you cut is stupid things like food delivery, right?
Yeah.
So it was just a perfect storm. Interest rates going up. The US dollar got real strong against the Australian. All of our bills are in US. Sales were down. Everything just kind of
imploded.
It got to a point where when I knew I had to pull the plug was late May, early June. And then we just kind of, I chatted to an accountant and a lawyer, and we had this plan, and we made sure that everyone got off the plane. Like all of our drivers got paid. I think 95% of everything that was owed to restaurants got paid. And then there was a couple people holding the bag, but that was
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, but
I-
had to be a learning experience.
Oh, yeah.
Granted, very fast.
Well, yeah. Going through bankruptcy is the greatest learning experience because you realize actually the system is geared to protect you, right? As long as you don't do illegal things.
Yeah.
Like if I was, for instance, it allows you to kind of like wipe your hands and like, learn and move away. But if there's a mini hearing that happens whenever this kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
And if you were found to have traded while insolvent, you straight to jail, right?
Yeah.
You get fined. So it's nice to know that the system actually has your back and can protect you from certain things.
Must be nice living in Australia.
Yeah, it's nice. I got a little too easy.
Yeah. We'll come back to that because I like hearing that. I feel like, and look, entrepreneurship anywhere is a risk.
But importantly, terrifying.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world. When you go through it, you're like, oh, I've survived, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
My mental health got way better because I didn't have to deal with all the silliness of like running this company and like, I regret nothing.
Yeah, exactly. But I do like that there's a system that allows you to do it in a way that, you can, you don't feel like you're competing against a select few people with an unfair advantage.
Oh, that's definitely unfair advantage, but it's at least like you're not going to jail if you could have a crack.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, so now that was finished, and then over COVID, you and your girlfriend started the alcohol company, Espresso Martinis.
Cambrian Hill.
Cambrian Hill.
Yeah. Again, it had to be culturally significant, and Cambrian Hill was a suburb in Ballarat.
Okay.
So we just looked at the GPS on Google Maps, trying to find a name, like a name that had a nice ring to it, right?
Yeah.
Because again, we use like all local producers, local distillery, local coffee coffee roaster. So it was really important that, it was a community effort. And that's also when launching a brand really good, and like it really helps sway like the consumer because they're like, it's local. It's good. Yeah.
That was successful. You guys eventually sold the company.
It's more of a licensing deal. We're not
Licensing.
Yeah,
so you're
Sarah still has it.
she still has it.
Yeah,
Fine. Yeah. Okay. And it's still under the same name?
No. Now the deal is, so their distributor didn't want to take two different SKUs, so two different brands. So it's now been rolled into the distillery's main brand.
Which is?
Killican Distillery. No, Larrikin.
That's what the product is called now?
Yeah, it's called Larrikin Espresso Martini, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
But now, instead of selling a couple thousand bottles a year, I think it's gone all the way up. So that's good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it would be nice to try it one day.
Yeah, I'll definitely try and get some.
You gotta bring some. We could do another podcast and have some espresso martinis.
Well, I'm trying to get DDL to make it here because
Oh yeah.
at the end of the day, I think I still own the recipe. So
Yeah. Well, intellectual property.
No, they told me they I tried getting in contact and they're like, no, we have food scientists to do it.
To do espresso martinis.
Well, if you did, why aren't you doing it?
Yeah. Well, that would be nice though, because we were just talking about as you came in, like, why can't new types of beer do well here, or these kind of new recipes, and we're just seeing so many products on the market that are straight from distributors, mass produced, and there's a loyalty, and as well as different companies have just a big market share. What are the challenges you think to get into the beverage industry here? Or at least what do you think they are? I'm not saying you're an expert.
How I would do it,
Yeah.
right? Again, I'm no expert, right? But it needs to be culturally significant, like we've talked about. But
Yeah.
you need to create the magic, right?
I reckon espresso martini is not a culturally
Significant? No.
Yeah.
No. But what I was thinking was less about espresso martini. What I wanted to do was, like, I'm not just. I'm fairly confident that I could go and use the same sort of the same way that I developed that to develop other products.
Yeah.
So I wanted to come in as like a product consultant so I could like create things, right? I'm really just looking for Willy Wonka factories that I could be a small weekend Willy Wonka,
Yeah.
And I've constantly trying to find, because I think manufacturing in Guyana is really important. And there's a lot of because our market is flooded with all sorts of crap, and it's really easy for any Tom, Dick, and Harry to import things. And I think we lose our cultural identity every single time that happens. So I'm trying to reach out and trying to get involved with any manufacturing, anything here, so we could create cool things here, and then it's not just espresso martini. Like we can, if you gave me access and we can, I don't know, spitball, we create all sorts of things, you know, it's, but, sorry, the question was, how would you launch it here?
Yeah. Well, how would you, you know, how would you do it differently where people would want to say like, because if I'm traditionally drinking Banks and Guinness,
Yeah.
let's say, and Stag,
Mm.
which are, you know, the two big companies pushing that, and they're like the market giants right now.
Yeah.
And you come with Power Ale.
Power ale.
I'm copywriting that, by the way. Don't steal that.
Good.
Why should I drink that? Like, why, even if it's like a good beer,
No, you shouldn't.
you know?
Because I think Banks is great, right?
Yeah.
But what it is, I think these products, like when you think about like beers, right, or alcohol or whatever, they're not essential, so they're kind of like luxuries, right? These little luxuries are super important, especially for an expanding economy like ours.
Yeah.
So what you need to do, I think, is to create experiences around it, because our people are so starved for experiences. As long as you create cool things, they'll come to it, right? They'll gravitate to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, do you want to talk about what we were talking about earlier? I don't know how we get into that without like, because I'm still very early stages with talking to these guys. But
No, I mean, you can say whatever you want to say. You don't have to talk about anything specific, but if we're just talking about experiences.
Well, okay, so the beginning of the week, I do something called every Monday I do something called Hail Mary Mondays, right? Where I will write a list of things that, like, you know, like these aren't doable objectives. These are like real Hail Marys. Like these are like, I want to like in Australia, I got into meeting rooms with like billionaires through it, right? Which is nuts. And that's Hail Mary Monday is also how Cambrian Hill started. But I'll write a list of just crazy ideas and I'll just throw a couple of Hail Marys. I'll make a couple phone calls. I'll write a couple of emails. Do something, right? Just make sure that you've put some sort of crazy idea out into the universe. And I had just wrapped up. I've been doing some tech consulting for an NGO called TCG. So I just delivered that project that morning. So I felt, okay, time to throw another Hail Mary. So there was a local brewery here that tried to do the whole craft experience thing, and without calling any names, but they've been shut down for 2 years. So I reached out to I reached out to someone who I thought who knew it, and then I got the phone number, and then I reached out and said, hey, this is my name, this is what I do. What happened? Like, where is the equipment? Because I'd like to do something. And very, like, instantly we had a good chat, and then instantly I was added to the group chat between the guys who run it. And then the next day I went to go see the brewery, and it's phenomenal. It's way too large. It's what happens when you let men organize things, right? Have you seen Clarkson's Farm, where he buys the big Lamborghini tractor?
No.
Oh, okay. So he's tasked to go and buy a tractor, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, bigger is obviously better, more horsepower, right? And it's a Lamborghini. And everybody throughout the entire 2 years, the next 2 years, tell him it's way too large and it's stupid.
Yeah.
So this brewery is almost way too large, right?
Yeah.
And
But that's what people with and this had to be a side project for them as well.
Yeah.
Because that's what people with money do. They'll buy the best of the best.
no, it is the
And it just
Rolls
ends up-
Royce.
yeah,
Like
it
it is
ends up being-
phenomenal.
You know,
It's too big.
yeah, too big. There is such a thing as too big for.
And that's possibly going to be their problem. But what they should have done, in my opinion at least, right, is because we lack experiences here. Like every bar is exactly the same. Every beer you can buy from any bar, right?
Yeah.
There's no like USP, like unique selling point. There's no,
Maybe they should have started with the experience first.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But again, they were super busy. They're titans of industry, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's
It's a good problem to have, but not good for the business, I guess.
But to create an experience, you got to really be on the ground and like do
Yeah.
it, right? So what I'm trying to chat to them, and I showed you an image earlier, which I just used AI to kind of like put my thoughts into image, is what it should have been was like a craft brewery, brew pub style thing.
Yeah.
And you create an experience around that. And then that way you can like, if you make them have these magical moments, they're more likely to take that, take it home with them as bottles or gifts or whatever, right? It's, you gotta focus on crafting like the experience, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this would kind of be, just without getting into too much detail, I don't want to broadcast your business idea, but when you sort of talk about an experience, it's like putting it in an environment where it could be enjoyed as opposed to going straight to distribution.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Or for instance, on the same line, right, with the factory being a little too large and like, because their minimum output is 2,000 liters, right?
Yeah.
Which is 50 kegs. That's a lot of kegs. That's a lot of beer, right? That's 2,000 liters is 4,000 pints, right? That's 8,000 bottles. So you're not really like, you don't really want to experiment and create like pineapple fuzzy haze hazy pale ale or something, right? Because if it doesn't sell, you're stuck with
8,000.
8,000 bottles or 50 kegs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had 10 kegs, it's not the end of the world, right? Because I worked with this brew pub in Australia that did something similar. They create like hot cross bun beer, and it wasn't super popular, but you create these unique USPs to try and get people through the doors.
Yeah.
It's just experiences, right? It's like they've never had a hot cross bun beer. Let's try a hot cross bun beer, you know?
Yeah. And also people like variation.
Yeah.
If you have to double down on one product, then that has to sell.
Well, you know the Guyanese that adage that's never see come for see.
Yeah.
Well, if you could do that 4 times a year, you're never gonna like the problem with Guyanese businesses is they do it once and they're like, oh, our sales are trailed off.
Yeah.
But if you just keep reinventing yourself keep the excitement going.
Just a side note, which that's kind of why I like restaurants like Bistro, for example, who have a constantly changing menu.
We have to.
Yeah. Because it's, and you're right. We see that so many times with businesses that they saturate because it's like, it's this new thing that we never had. Oh, Guyanese never had, I'm making this up, like Malaysian food.
Yeah.
But if like the Malaysian food's there and then, you refuse to innovate or change, it will die a natural death, and more so in bars where people want new experiences, specials and this and that.
Or it comes down to like old titans that we have here. Like I tried to do some work with Sterling at the beginning of the year, middle of the year. And they're like, hey, why is the magic not here? Right. And like we sell ice cream. Like it should, like we feel like there's no magic left. And I walked around and had a little look at this and that and just asked, at the end of it, just asked, okay, so what's the minimum you can do? And they're like, well, we can make a cup, right? Or we can make 500 liters. Like, oh, you don't have a machine that could do like 10 or 20? Like, no, 500. It's a big run. And then I kept prodding and kept asking, like, okay, how often do you come up with new flavors? Well, we rotate every 6 months. Wait, but how often do you create new flavors that are like culturally significant, right? Like Metai cinnamon mix or something. No, we don't do that. Okay, well then well, that's why you don't have the magic, because you don't have the ability to do the magic because you went and bought the Lamborghini tractor, right? Like you do need to be able to produce 500 liters at least in one run, but you to get people to keep coming through the door is you still need to be able to produce 10 or 20 at a time, right? Just experiment.
Yeah.
Because then no one wants to take risks and put their name to 500 liters that you have to maybe pour down the time.
Yeah, that's interesting. Why do you think that is though? Why is that the mentality?
Because I don't know this for a fact, but I think when they're building it, because it's a little bit old, right? Like the idea was to create economies of scale. So the bigger, the better, right? Especially, or with the brewery, it's like, all right, well, they're going to be more expensive anyway, but they need to try and bring that cost down somehow. Yeah. So maybe if they produce 2,000 liters, it will bring the unit cost down.
Yeah.
Cool. But if you're not, if you're not spicy, if you're not interesting, well, then it doesn't really matter how cheap you can make it because no one's going to buy it.
Contrary to that point, how do young entrepreneurs with no capital, how are they surviving on having to have higher cost for their product, but they have the ability to constantly innovate? Because being able to innovate is for free, right?
Oh, yeah.
That
being at the bottom means you're agile, right?
Right.
Well, we talked about this in the car the other day. What I found, like I've written a list of like what the environment is like here. A majority of the money is controlled by a very few amount of people, right? All the cool infrastructure is very few people. But the people on the bottom are like the innovators have none of this because they tend to come from families that weren't like the families who control it tend not to have kids who want to do it, and the ones who want to do it tend to come from the families that don't have any of it, or it's just a hunger thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But what I found is a severe reluctance to lend that power. Like in Australia, I'll call the distillery. We're like, yeah, we'll do a joint thing. Oh, you want to cut to the profits? Fine, sure, easy. Right? You want to own part of the brand? Sure, cool, whatever. Here, I found they do not want, at least what I found, there's been a major reluctance in trying like that collaboration effort. And it will happen at some point, but it's quite difficult for people coming up from the bottom, I think.
But just to be clear on a quick point so people don't get the wrong impression, having a cut of the profit, this is nominal. Like this is like this is like a point something percentage risk they're taking.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Which is what people don't understand. It's just like you're kind of
the way I like to do business was with the distillery, just to put it like all out there in Australia, or what I'm trying to do here is, well, more in Australia was, hey, I'm going to do all the work. You're going to continue doing your stuff. On the weekends when you have spare time, I'm going to come in and show you what I've done. I'll spend a couple $100 to kind of experiment. I'm going to create you a whole new SKU or like a whole new product, and then you're going to make money for free.
Yeah.
And that's how you kind of add value. That's how you make it impossible for them to say no.
Right.
But even here, I've found like you can't go no. So it's, got to keep going to different avenues, right?
So then, what would you suggest that the people here do, like to continue to pursue that kind of joint ventureship, like smaller folks, smaller innovators looking to build products?
Well, I think because Guyana, like I spent a lot of time like trying to research how like what happens in economies that grow rapidly thanks to oil, and thankfully there's like 4 or 5 really good examples. Like the Emirates, and then you've got a scattered couple countries throughout Asia. I looked at Singapore, and the big thing that always kind of looks like that always comes up is building little luxuries. Because when an economy has had no real experiences, and then you start to build experiences, people are willing to come and pay it.
Yeah.
Like for instance, we have a friend who has security, and I'll go and chat to the security guards every so often. And there's one guy who, delightful guy, they earn pretty good, decent money for Guyana, but it's Guyana wages. And he and his wife will go out, and they've been to more restaurants here than I have, more luxury experiences, more like they've been to teppanyaki, they've been to this, they've been to that. And at first I thought, are these people reckless with their money? And then I sat down and pondered and thought, no, actually, I'm coming from a point of privilege because I've been around the world and I've kind of seen things. But if you've been here, if you don't really have the ability to leave or the want to leave, your experiences are built in here, right? So if as a young entrepreneur, I would say try and figure out ways to create experiences rather than just churning out products.
Yeah.
A product can be an experience, but it's all about that experience, and people are going to be willing to pay for it because we've been starved of experiences for so long.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's funny you say that because every time there's, like I went to Expo the other day and like just they're like these girls selling craft from like these stones that are only found in certain parts of Guyana, which I thought was amazing. And whether that's true or not, I couldn't tell how she marketed it was fantastic.
Right.
It made me
She told a story.
She told a story, made me want to learn more. Was forward in her marketing. Scan this, it'll take you right to our page.
Yeah.
And we're missing so much of that, you know? And this is like a girl with a small table, a small display. It looked fantastic. It was nicely lit up, very modest, but at the same time, very appealing. She sold it really well. And I felt so like energized. I was like, yes, like this is what we need.
Yeah, you're engaging.
Yeah, you're engaging. I want to know more.
Yeah.
I'm even half of the business part of me is like, how can I like maybe get in on this and build on it? Obviously it's hard thing, whatever. But it's just like, it's just that's inspiring.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what we need. I think a lot of people rely on these abstract things or like the fact that, we don't have this or the government isn't doing this or that. And some of it is true. Like the government has to provide
some sort of support or infrastructure.
Right. The infrastructure.
Right. Yeah.
The infrastructure for people to succeed.
Yeah.
But that's just a part of it, like again, like how you began the conversation, like in this sort of entrepreneurship, you got to find out what the rules are, where the boundaries are, what kind of parameters are we working in, and in Guyana it sucks. I'm not gonna lie, like,
it's hard. Yeah, but
hard.
I think in that there's a lot of opportunities here.
Right.
Yeah.
No, exactly. So because
it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. We're not fooling ourselves that
Yeah.
anyone can do it or this. We're not even sure we can do it yet.
No.
But it's like, it doesn't mean that like, okay, you're not going to see a gap there that no one else is going to see. And you just got to attack that, and I think that's exciting. That's what the exciting thing is about the market and our growing economy.
Agreed. 100%.
But yeah, it's crazy, man. And
well, I left the brewery yesterday thinking, I must be the smartest man alive because no one's been in this building for 2 years.
no way.
Yeah. It's like just, again, they spent at least $1 million US on that thing.
Wow.
That's nuts.
Shifting quickly. So aside from your Hail Mary business ideas, you've already partnered and started one here.
Oh, with the
Can you talk about that?
the dehydrated fruit?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So you're doing a product called Caribbean Cocktails.
Yeah.
And it's basically dehydration of fruit for garnish.
Real simple stuff.
Real simple.
Yeah.
And I like that because it's like it's nothing complicated.
No.
And it also falls in a high margin, higher value niche
Just add
market.
value. Yeah.
Exactly, adding value.
Mm.
And basically, what you're doing now, just so the viewer knows, is you're dehydrating seedless limes
Yeah.
to use as cocktail garnishes,
Yeah.
which is a huge market in the
Huge.
US,
Yeah.
South America,
In the Caribbean,
in the Caribbean.
anything hospitality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, we've seen a huge uptake in Guyana, though. Like a lot of bars are lining up to try
Well,
and
with
get
the
it
higher end
because
establishments.
they're desperately
opening.
trying to do better.
Yeah.
Right. And this is one of the ways, if like the way that I market it is by the time we process it and by the time you buy it in our big bag, we will sell you one slice of dehydrated lime for $30 right? I mean, you buy it in a big bag, but sounds like a lot. But actually, it increases your perceived value of your drink by at least $200
Yeah.
So actually, your return on investment is like 500%, right?
Yeah.
If you spend $30 and we've talked about this before, like you're a bit of a connoisseur with cocktails. If you
Yeah,
put
yeah, of
live
course.
fruit in there, it actually sours the drink. So it's a lot more than just increasing your perceived value.
Yeah. No, 100%. And to my point, actually, Vicky, would you be able to? We actually have some in our
Oh,
fridge.
cool.
I just want to. I'll market it for free. I'm not
Perfect.
going to charge you.
But you know how we came up with this idea? When I was in Barbados all last year, they have had, again, just simple observations, right? I was in Massey every other day, and there we go. And they have no limes. There's no citrus on the island.
Yeah.
It goes to all the hotels because a fungus had gone through like 7 years ago and killed everything. And then I was just thinking, why can't we just like bring it from Guyana? And then the next thought was, well, that'll be difficult. So let's dehydrate it, and then we'll go everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, so the thing is, as you said, I'm a cocktail connoisseur. I love my cocktails. I know that makes me sound elitist, but I don't care. So you dehydrate these limes, and this is what it looks like. I don't know if this is a better angle.
Oh, I love it when the light catches it and it goes amber. Yeah.
So this is kind of like the whole thing, and it's like crystallized almost. It smells amazing, and you basically put it on the cocktail.
Yeah.
It like looks like a nicer garnish,
Yep.
and then as you're sipping,
There's a light aroma to it.
you get
and
that
it's-
aroma as you're tasting. And now
Yeah.
a lot of Guyanese would be like, well, why the hell am I having a hard lime when I could get my lime wedge and I could squeeze it? And you and I spoke about this, and we said that, it totally depending on the drink, but when you squeeze lime into a drink, you throw off the pH, you throw off the...
Like a cocktail is an exact mix of things.
Exactly, yeah.
And if you start adding more lime juice, then all of a sudden you just have lemonade.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Actually, when you think about it, the difference between a margarita and a lemonade is just more lemon, more lime.
Right.
All right, you don't want to mess that up too much.
And the vodka.
Well, the tequila, whatever you're having, yeah.
Yeah. Tequila,
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Quick question. The Cambrian Hill was with tequila?
No, very light gin.
Oh, gin. All right,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, very light. The only reason it was just going to be like a vodka, but the distillery is a gin distillery, so they wanted to keep true to that. So we just did a very light pass through the stills.
Yeah.
So technically it was a gin, but didn't really taste like a gin.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, it has to be. You have to tell a proper story, right? And the story just can't be like, "Hey, look at all of our gins and a vodka."
Of course. Yeah.
Because they did some liqueurs as well, right?
Yeah.
So
But the company was gin, like you said.
yeah, it's a gin distillery.
Yeah, gin distillery. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But no. So the dehydrated limes are fantastic idea. And again, cocktails are a niche market, but you can also do other dehydrated things. I mean, I love eating dehydrated fruit and nuts.
Yeah.
You know, you could do
Well, the reason why we're not doing I'm only doing cocktail garnishes for now is because I'm trying to do the least amount of work for the most amount of value.
yeah.
And that's not a
That's the
laziness.
dream.
Yeah, well, it's a correct, but it's not like a laziness thing. It's just like I figured out that and it's not hard to figure out that the value placed on like by society is, well, if it's as a cocktail garnish, it's perceived as higher value.
Yeah.
But if I did mango chips, people, it's a snack, and snacks are perceived to be
A lower value.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so that's why I'm doing that one.
Well, you could do like dehydrated fruit and granola,
Well, true.
which is also.
Do we have granola here, like the actual?
I'm not sure,
Oh.
but I think you'd probably have to bring in the raw ingredients
Yeah.
and make it, but you could put a spin on it.
Can we talk about this one thing I saw at Expo, right? There's two products, like a tale of two cities.
Mm-hmm.
And one was phenomenal and one was, I liked the spirit, but you missed,
Mm-hmm.
right? The one that I liked was, I can't remember what it's called. It's up in the Essequibo, up the coast. and they did, and it's so close. This is why I like going to Guy Expo, because they have great products, but they just haven't marketed it right. It was a cassava-based chicken crumb, right? It was seasoning mixed in, garlic powder, onion powder, salt, pepper, and it was based and mostly crumb, like really fine cassava, right? And it was sold as chicken and then like fry seasoning or whatever. But what it should have been was gluten-free fried, breading or something. But it's again, they're a couple steps away from a phenomenal product that would sell everywhere.
Just a switch in wording.
Just a switch your wording, right? Because it's a great product.
Yeah.
One of my friends bought some and she loved it.
That's like the problem, and I've actually
Because it browns up nicely and it's
yeah. And I've heard I've been to a few the ones I get invited to because I guess I'm not up there yet. But
I don't get invited to anything.
A lot of these are public. I ain't gonna
okay.
lie. I say I'm invited, but either that or I tag along with somebody. But I've heard the president talk about like pushing Guyana to market these kind of products, like especially with the health and wellness industry, with us growing ginger and turmeric, and making a product with that to support, to market towards that industry because it's high value.
Agreed. How much we pay for a pound of ginger here? Do you know? Like I think in Barbados I saw it as $7, so like $700 a pound. I can only assume it's cheaper here.
Yeah, maybe $2.
In Australia, it's 52.
52.
52.
Wow.
A pound. It's nuts. $52 a pound. So
Wow.
their dollars. So whatever that is, like 8,000. So I mean, you gotta, like we were talking about before, you just need market makers. You need to figure out who could like do it where and whatever.
Yeah. But it brings me back to our earlier point with people who don't have the opportunity to travel. How would they know? How would they understand that?
Yeah. Well, you can never be mad at someone for not being taught something.
No, you can't. And it's unfair.
Yeah.
But and I think that's like maybe where we have an opportunity with the younger generation because they're exposed to all this media where you kind of maybe have a better chance of getting it.
Yeah.
It would be nice if we had more workshops or there's only so much you can do in a workshop, to be honest.
Yeah.
But you got to get people out there.
You got to inspire them. And if you could do that in the workshop and then let them go out into the world.
Yeah.
But the funny product I saw, and I don't want to talk shit about these people because the product itself was good. It was, I think it was being put forward by the Bureau of whatever. And it was green tea. I don't know if you saw that. Like green tea in pouches and packages.
No.
Made for Keurig machines, right? And like different interesting mixes. And it was good. I thought it was a pretty good product.
Yeah, nice.
But I was asking the lady like, so is the tea grown here? She's like, no. Oh, okay. So what about everything else that's in it? Well, the ginger might be in this, and this. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, at least you created value. You brought it in cheap. There's nothing wrong with that. Where can I buy a Keurig machine? Do you all sell Keurig machines? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, where did you buy yours? And she's like, well, you know what? It's funny. I don't know anywhere in Guyana that sells Keurig machines.
Yeah.
But you're making Keurig
packets.
And she's like, so I asked, is this for export? And she's like, no, this is for the local economy. So people go, ma'am.
If you ever figured out how to buy a Keurig machine, we have the perfect product.
Yeah.
But it's funny you say that.
Surely they should sell the Keurig machine too and then make margin on, I don't know, something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience at Guy Expo. And by the way, not to bad talk Guy Expo. Because
phenomenal.
I genuinely did think it was a phenomenal.
Yeah, I found products that I've never seen before, and I've seen people who have never seen before coming out with cool things. I particularly like, and I've only been back for 6 months, the group of gals who do the peanut punch thing out of Buxton.
Yes,
great product.
I bought the Capadula one.
Yeah.
Didn't open it yet. It's not that kind of
lucky Anna.
Yeah. So no, because we actually went to that stall, and my wife loves what you call it, the creme liqueur.
Okay.
Which is the product.
Yeah.
God, I can't believe I forget what it's called. The name of the
we're not
brand.
doing it justice.
I know. I feel bad. I should be shouting them out. Anyway, so we saw it, and
they're in Andrew's supermarket. They're in some Bounties, and you can buy it directly from them.
Yeah. So they have coffee, Capadula, and I forget the third flavor, but the coffee and Capadula were fantastic. And we're like, okay, we gotta buy. And I just remember seeing it, and I was like, this is amazing.
It's a good product.
It's a good product. It like I've never heard about it before. It's coming from Buxton, which is I've never really seen like a major product come out of Buxton. Maybe I'm just ignorant. Of
No, I
that
think it's
fact,
I'm probably ignorant as well.
you know. So yeah, great. And like I was so inspired by that as well. And again, which is why I love Expo. You got to really appreciate what a lot of these people out there are doing. But just to quickly jump back on the other side of the fence, it's like with your experience with the green tea. I went to a Nari, I think it was Nari.
Is it the wines? No.
Nari.
No.
They're agriculture.
Okay.
So they had like this display, this hydroponic setup, encouraging people to grow lettuce hydroponic, and the plants they had were beautiful because they're all coming onto this pipe setup. And I had previously considered doing hydroponics as like a side hobby, nothing for like business or whatever. So I'm talking to the guy and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Like, and well, with hydroponics, you have like these plugs, you put the seed in.
Okay.
And then it kind of, the water film goes through the pipes and then it grows from there. And I was like, oh, well, where are you getting the plugs from? Like, how do you guys bring them in? Or I don't know. I'm like, oh, well, do you know how much is it to like do a setup like this? Because if someone wants to do a backyard hydroponic system, what's like their cost? Oh, I don't know. You know, the man who was supposed to, he not here right now. Like, well, it's the opening night at Expo. Where is he? You know, so it's kind of like, it was just not to
No.
bad talk.
Because it's a good effort.
It's a great like setup and but people who want to know and like you're pushing something. And
it's literally an expo.
Yeah, it's an literally an expo. And I've had this experience with as many good experiences I've had. I've also had these experiences where the people manning the booth were clueless.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, it kind of cut my praise or my excitement for the event in half, because it felt like, and I hate saying this, and I shouldn't even be saying it, but it just felt like historically we just go, oh, well, the Guyana Fair, I guess, you know, like they just kind of, nobody.
Which is a pity, because we have great products and great people.
Right. So, you know, it's sad. And I hope, sorry, my assistant is now telling me it's Dixie's Country Creme. Shout out Dixie's from Buxton. Amazing product.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I love the coffee one.
The coffee one,
Yeah.
yeah. You got to try the Capadilla.
I think
it's
I
very
did last
effective.
time. Oh, okay, good.
I heard. Anyway, so yeah, and so back to your stuff. It's like, you know, that's the kind of those are the kind of new innovative products that we need, especially
Agreed.
from the younger people,
Yeah.
man, with the energy.
Yeah. Well, look, I was talking to the same guys yesterday. He's like, look, I'm an older man now, right? I'm not there to be able to make mistakes and just go and like, I want to sleep well.
Yeah.
I well, perfect. I'm 30 and I don't mind sleeping badly. I will sleep through anything. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, and you just got to be able to bring the magic and just understand what your magic is and try and figure out what you want to do.
Yeah. Do you never, as an entrepreneur, don't you ever feel like I don't want to say scared, but like uncertain, anxious,
Terrified
nervous?
all the time.
Yeah. It's a hard feeling. 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like I don't do terribly. Like I'm not making a ton of money, but I feel like my circumstances is kind of lucky. Like you know where I live, at the edge of Sophia, next
You're not giving enough credit.
it's the third floor, so it's but like no shots against Sophia. I'm just saying, like, it's like the border, Cummings Lodge, Sophia. So like, you know, and I love my place. I love it. Like you've seen how nice it is,
and you put a lot of work into it.
Put a lot of work. It's a 2-bedroom apartment, and I just feel like I've been so lucky to find that place, because everywhere that's a 2-bedroom apartment, being a married person, you know, even with 2 incomes, you can't afford it.
No,
it's
this place is
unaffordable
wild right now.
The cost of renting a place here is absurd, and
I'm kind of hoping the bubble bursts pretty soon, because it is a bubble, and at some point
my friends and I have been saying that for years. It ain't gonna happen soon. I don't think so. But my point is that, like, you know, unless you're lucky, you know, there are people who are still living with their parents, and if I wasn't able to get that place,
if my parents were here, I'd still be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
100%.
And I feel kind of bad, like, because I know so many people want to branch out and do their own thing, and it's just tough. and then the money you're making, you're barely getting by. Groceries are every time I go to the grocery, I'm like floored. I'm like, how are people?
Well, we have a joke in our friend circle that if you go to Massey, just expect to spend 20 grand. Like you're just gonna trip and fall. If you buy nothing or if you buy a lot, it's gonna be 100 US. It's gonna be nonsense.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
But then people will tell you, oh, well, you should be shopping at the market.
No, correct.
But my rebuttal to that is that I'm not finding everything I need in the market.
Well, you still have to go 4 or 5 different places.
Exactly. And then by the time I add up my transportation costs, I've almost reached back where I was when I consolidated at a supermarket.
Yeah. Like I've tried to do a super simple like daily kind of diet thing. I bought a big bag of rice for like a sack of rice for like $500.
Yeah.
So I'm like counter now, so just scoop out and bam.
Nice.
I try and do it cheap, and even then it's not cheap. It's still more expensive than like living in Australia. It's wild. Yeah, my daily groceries is nuts. It's like I think I've gotten it down to, I want to say, including that the expensive yogurt that I have as a treat, because I'm kind of mildly lactose intolerant. So I try it. There's like a Chobani and zero lactose one.
Nice.
And I'm still spending like $2,400 a day, which is just like that's more than I would spend in Australia.
Yeah.
Because that's like, what is that? 13 US, something like that, 12 US.
Yeah.
If I'm really cheap in it, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like $20 Australian. Yeah. Actually, it's probably close to. But it's Guyana. We're not supposed to be as expensive as Australia. Australia has a huge standard of living,
Yeah. You can't really eat vegetables here either.
No, I buy the frozen stuff.
Yeah. Which is cheaper.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah.
We were talking about this about the pineapples as well. There's a weird, I haven't figured it out yet, but like with live produce, some days it's $400, some days it's $800, and you just kind of got to take the swings as it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why it's up and down like that. I did see a thing, one of the reporters the other day, I think it was from News Source, had asked the president at a conference, like, why is pumpkin so high? I can't afford pumpkin. And then he had to tell her about, the drought we've been having and how that affects prices and blah, 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 which is true. But at the same time,
the reporter should go see, what was our pineapple farmer's name again?
Vishal,
Vishal.
who I'm hoping comes on the show at some point.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the most enlightening show you ever have.
Yeah.
He's gonna show you how to find inner peace, and if he writes the book somehow, he's oof.
Yeah, no, Vishal is amazing. I wish actually if Vishal comes on the show, I'm hoping to. Sorry for people who don't know, Vishal is a pineapple farmer friend of mine, and Alex.
Probably the happiest man I've ever met.
Yeah,
most content.
Yeah, and what a salt of the earth, amazing guy.
Yeah,
and
the Willy Wonka of pineapples.
100%. Yeah, and we went to his farm the other day. You and I. Well, I took you to show you, potentially dehydrated pineapples, whatever. And it was just amazing. Like to see it in this dry season too as well. It's way different from when we had a crap ton of rain the last time I've been there. But yeah, speaking of which, did you dehydrate any of the pineapples?
No, I ate his. I ate one, and then I gave the other one to Aruna as a pre-wedding gift or something. I don't know. I was like, hey, here's a pineapple. And they thought it was the best pineapple they've ever had.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's funny because I ran into someone in the supermarket the other day, and she was like, oh, I see you and Alex went to the pineapple farm. How was that? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, did he give you a pineapple? Because he took home like 3. And she's like, no, he didn't. Those pineapples went straight into the dehydrator. But yeah,
I should have done that actually.
Yeah, no, they're great gifts.
Yeah,
and everybody likes
Isn't it funny though when we're talking about entrepreneurship, where his pineapples are like, at market they're like $800, but then there's people from like Hawaii or wherever it is that do those like fat little pink ones, and they charge $40 US for one. It's just how you market and how you present it.
Yeah.
Or if you take your raw pineapple and dehydrate it, it's worth 5 times as much. Or if you take pineapple and juice it, it's worth 3 times as much. Like
that's always been our problem here with
imagination.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and with these kind of commodities too. Like we just the thing is just to farm and sell right away, and and
the farmer shouldn't have the whole responsibility of like doing everything, right? We need people in the middle.
But not everybody should farm.
Correct.
Yeah.
If the farming for the country was left up to me, we could all go hungry.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. It's completely useless.
Yeah.
Again, I cite Clarkson's farm.
But again, it's how do you make it easier for people adding the high value?
Yeah.
the electricity cost has to go down,
Well,
of course.
how
That's
hard
a
it
big
is
one.
to move money in this place is insane. Bank accounts took me 4 or 5 months to get.
Yeah,
And even then, like I had friends on my side, and even then it was a pain in the butt.
yeah,
Like it's trying to do, it's quite hard to do business there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just to pivot on that, we've been talking about actual doing business for a while, and I want to talk to you on being a remigrant,
Okay.
and then how are you sort of reconciling that with where we are current day? Because you come back, there's a lot of opportunity, which is exciting. You are a son of the soil, but you're back here now, and then in classic fashion, we got Venezuela knocking on the door.
I come back for a nice peaceful adventure to build value
yeah.
and give back to the country, and then all of a sudden I was saying this to one of our friends. It is the most Guyana thing that we find tremendous amounts of oil. All right,
Yeah.
we finally got some of our shit sorted out, and then someone's knocking on our door to take it all away
Yeah,
within 3 years.
yeah. I'm not the fearmonger because I mean, like,
No, it's not gonna happen.
yeah. Well,
Well,
I don't want to make any pronouncements, but
yeah.
it's just interesting the situation.
No, it's
because-
okay because I was supposed to travel and I've canceled all of that, so I'm here for them.
Okay, so you're on the front lines.
Well, no, the one behind the front, I'll be there.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
I was a yellow belt in karate, all right?
Oh yeah, nice.
Actually, I was very disappointed when I was a child because when I finished white belt, I thought I completed it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out there's like 20 more.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
nah, I got it.
It's such an ordeal.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's fine. But yeah, so it's like I'm thinking, what's going through a lot of people's minds right now. I mean, again, it's not. We're very early in whatever this is, but it's funny to see. Not funny. It's interesting to see the reactions of people based on, this posturing by Venezuela. They haven't really done anything yet.
I've also noticed the
People are-
unreaction, not unreaction, the lack of reaction from a lot of people in business as well, who are just like, well, if it happens, it happens. We'll deal with it. But
But what else are they going to do?
life
anyway?
goes on. They have to keep going up.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. So, but yeah, I hope it doesn't discourage a lot of people. I know that's a big ask.
Yeah. I think, look, whatever happens, I think we're going to be still fine. I still think this is like moving back to Guyana for anybody who's thinking about moving back, remigrating, whatever. I still think it's like the greatest economic opportunity of any of our lifetimes. I was walking around Melbourne when I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. And there was like a big stadium named after a family, and this big skyscraper had a plaque there, this family and whatever. I think this is one of the last opportunities in the world to have your name on a building in 100 years. So that idea fueled me. And also the idea that I could come back and not do anything in like a reckless way, but like there's so many opportunities for all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I have one crazy idea I want to talk to you about but we'll get to the serious things.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's another one of my little Hail Marys that I think is what I really want, but it's the least likely to ever happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You wanna go?
I'm all ears.
I want the zoo.
This soup.
I want it.
I think that's public.
No. So, all right. And I was trying to talk to your mom about it last week to try and get some support. But I've been chatting to some guys at the bottom of the PAC.
Disclaimer: my mom has no investment.
Oh,
in
no,
the zoo.
no, and has no interest in being part of my takeover of the zoo. No, but I've got a really
Hostile.
no.
just
I'm
kidding.
not hostile.
I'm just kidding.
No, but I will use the Jaguars. No, because it's it hasn't. I've been going like at least once a week for the last couple months, right? I just have a walk around, and it has not changed in the last 15, 20 years. Like it's exactly what it was.
The zoo sucks. The botanical gardens, on the
Gorgeous.
other hand, is fantastic.
Oh, but I'm not, the botanical gardens I don't want. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I've got this huge report that I've been putting together, and it's not quite done yet. But I feel like it isn't culturally significant enough. There's a lack of investment. They haven't done it right. And I've cited like 5 or 6 different like examples where privatizing the zoo, like the national zoo or whatever it is, has actually added benefit to the people and to the organization and to the government. It's when you have like poorly run things, it's good to you need imagine Singapore. You need one totalitarian leader to just with a little bit of marketing sense to build it.
Yeah.
And in my report, like I've got some people out in Barbados that are like kind of half through around the idea of like funding it. So I got about like $2 or $3 million behind it, but really want the zoo. I think we could do so much to it.
Well, the one thing
And actually create it as a gem in the crown of Georgetown.
Yeah.
Like something that like it's not going to price anyone out or going to do great events. It's going to be a rehab facility, like
Well,
for
it actually was a rehab
okay,
facility.
great.
I'm not sure what the deal is now, but it's managed by the Protected Areas Commission.
Okay, no, it
And
is.
I
Yes,
think for a while it was not. It was used as a rehab. I don't know.
and it should still.
I don't know what the process of.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I knew how many animals were rehabilitated and sent back into the wild. I
yeah.
don't have that information.
Yeah.
For full disclosure, but I do think that if I'm not saying that zoo, but if
No, I want that one.
regardless, whoever owns the zoo
Yeah.
or a zoo,
No, I don't want
let's
to
just
own
say,
it. I don't know because it's state property. I want like 100 years license.
Sure,
Yeah.
but let's just say it was privatized.
Yeah.
Then my thoughts were that, it being non-privatized now and government owned, we can moan all day about how terrible the conditions are, blah blah blah.
Correct.
Nobody's gonna do anything and nothing will happen. If
Yeah.
it was private, the backlash would, I think, go a long way.
Well, I've had someone who's one of our
Because
friends
then even the
actually-
government could be like, yeah, you're right. You
Yeah.
guys didn't take care of these animals.
Yeah,
Shut
exactly.
down.
No, perfect. No, but
Yeah.
you need someone to hold accountable, right?
Yeah.
Someone, one of our friends actually debated me a lot about this. I've been chatting to about it. And she's just like, you can't do this kind of, but what we need though, because she's like, oh no, the PAC does this. And I'm not saying they do a bad job, but it's a vicious cycle of they don't have enough money, so they can't do any better. And because they haven't done any better, no one comes. And because no one comes, they have no money. And then just keeps going round and round and round. What he needs is an injection to kind of redo everything.
But I don't think they're trying to make money off the zoo.
Okay, but why not though, right? No, but I'm not saying it's not going to be, the way I want to do it is not a for-profit. I just think it should be it should just be a kabillion times better. And if
Yeah.
you make a profit, well, then you just take that money and
Yeah. No, for sure.
I don't think I don't think I'm going to make millions from it. What I want to do is, I think my legacy, what I'd like to do, and everything that I do is for fun, right? I genuinely have fun with these kind of things. It'd be great to own a zoo, to run a zoo and actually we have no capybaras in our zoo, but we got a donkey with mange, which is horrible to see. Horrible. It's mange.
Yeah.
It's so easy to fix. Just
Yeah.
spray them. All right. We have no
When last have you been?
2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe his mange has been fixed.
Yeah.
The petting zoo is American style barns.
Yeah. I
That
don't
was
like
weird.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
The aquarium has been closed for ages.
Yeah. There's so much you could do. So much.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
What kills me the most, is the cage they have the harpies in.
oh, horrible. Those are the kings of the
breaks my
sky.
heart.
It's nuts.
Well, they're more canopy jumpers, but
No.
yes, they're huge wings.
Look.
They should be.
I know it comes down to money, but it's not that hard.
Yeah.
Right? You get a cash injection. You go to Exxon. You get them to write a CSR check as well. You do merch. You create TikTok channels for every single animal. You allow people to sponsor it from anywhere in the world. You could generate millions of dollars and then just keep going. And it's not going to be huge. It'll just be boutique. Actually, I have another AI thing to show you that a part of the pitch.
Hold that thought because I do want to talk about AI.
Oh, I have a
But
funny
but
story.
to your previous
Yeah.
point about marketing and doing information through social media, TikTok, it blows my mind that businesses like mine, not mine per se, but videography and film businesses or content creation isn't a huge opportunity because
It's huge.
I feel like public sector is totally unaware of how far they can get their message out through proper utilization of these channels. And for example, the Venezuela thing.
Yeah.
The whole national strategy. Day one, we will be holding hands at wherever. Day
We'll
two,
be waving flags.
Day two, we have this conference at the cultural center. Look, this is fine. Still
Yeah.
have those things. But nobody's coming to that.
No.
Nobody's leaving work to go to 3:00 on a Tuesday or Monday. On a Tuesday to go and listen to this. It's people will go, but it's not effective.
Yeah.
That should have been live streamed. I'm not sure it was. But also nobody's gonna sit down for an hour to listen to this. Break up that information into 20 videos, boost the hell out of it, get all these influencers in Guyana to spread the message, give them a top up.
Yeah.
The information will spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
Why aren't we not utilizing social media this
Well, I
way?
have thoughts on this. And I've pondered this a fair bit, right? Because I know some people who are in the whole they try and say they're in the whole digital marketing space for businesses,
Yeah.
but they also have no clue. But so she's like, there's this one particular person, real smart, real switched on, but again, she's never really left to see what else is in the world, so she doesn't quite know. But She just boosts posts for businesses. But in the rest of the world, where it's really easy to transact online, you have a sales event, you have an event at the end of your ad journey, right? So that way you can measure what your return on spend is. And I'm actually working on a couple websites for businesses.
Explain that quickly to me.
Okay, so
if I'm selling,
if you're running ads, right? If you spend 1,000 US, like if you spend 100,000 Ghana dollars, 500 US, how do you know? Like, okay, cool, you got 20,000 impressions, right? Sure. I mean, 20,000 people saw it. That's Facebook's job to show. How do you know if your ad was effective, right? In the rest of the world, you can get conversions through, it's a conversion event. Like someone will go through and order the fridge, and then you know that, all right, well, for that 500 US, I made 10,000 US. So pretty good return, right? But because there's no way to map that in this country, or people don't think there's a way to map it, then they're kind of, they're, what's the word? They're not de-incentive, demotivated to do it. But what we need to do is think about what I've been trying to work with. I'm doing a couple websites for a couple of businesses where what you need actually is a conversion event is just a conversion event, right? It's either sales or it's a sign up or it's a lead gen. Okay, we can't do sales easily here. So what you need to do is have all your ads pointing to try and generate leads, right? Like no insurance company does lead gen here properly. So they run all these ads, but when you click on it, just throws you to their website. How do you know
So you then got to go find what you're looking for.
You got to call them or something. Like, how's that effective? Everything should lead, like you need some sort of conversion event, right?
Yeah.
And then Facebook, with all of its super powerful tools, once you have set that as your conversion event, they can then optimize that ad for you based on that event, right? So if your conversion event is a sale, great. But if it's generating a lead, that's also an event that could be optimized, right? So I think people for a long time just they've been demotivated because they'll spend a lot of money and get no sales, and they think, oh no, it don't work in Guyana.
They're measuring the value by viewership, which is pretty
Nonsense.
much useless.
Yeah, because you haven't designed a proper funnel, right?
If someone looks at your dehydrated limes, but they ain't buying on, it don't matter if a million people look at it.
Exactly, right? But if I run ads, which I'm not, but if I were to run ads, I wouldn't just boost everything. I'd have all sorts of I'd run 5 or 6 different ones just to try and see what worked. But it'd be targeted people who own businesses. And then you could have a lead sign up. So hey, you want to have this for your bar? Sign up now to get free samples. So you're incentivized to, because there's value for you to sign up. And then that's a lead. And then I could then hit you with sales because that's the best I could do here.
Yeah.
I can't convert you. I can't take your credit card or whatever here easily.
Yeah.
So that's my conversion event. And then I can optimize for that.
It's a shame courses like that aren't offered here. I think those workshops would do well.
I don't think they know. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it would just be, I've never really heard someone talk about it like that before.
It's just an event.
I'm ignorant. Yeah. I mean, and it's crazy because even the business I'm in, I'm not really, we're a film production company, video production, producing stuff, but we are not very strong at marketing and distribution.
Okay.
Well, I would say distribution. Good at marketing, not good at distribution. And that's a good way to think about it. And I think for me at least, the challenges, I mean, I'm doing this now, so my face is tit, but I'm not a kind of social media guy, hey everyone.
Hey guys, that's me in my life. Yeah.
This is kind of like that, but in a different way.
Yeah.
I guess,
Long form.
Long form. So 2 minutes they're out.
Also, quick before I forget, just on the AI thing, this is the center of my pitch for the zoo. A capybara rehab with a place you can actually go and see everything, and it looks great.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's you gotta dream.
Send this to me. I'll put it up on the screen.
Good.
That's nice. Was it you got something for capybaras?
Oh, I love capybaras. No, you know why? It's all marketing, man. I don't know if you saw it here, but at least in Australia and the rest of the world, in 2020 and early 2021, capybaras were the king of the internet.
Oh yeah.
The song, the capybara song, and they were just, it's literal gold waiting for us right here to market, and we are marketing. The zoo could be everything.
Yeah.
It could be a crown jewel on the crown of Georgetown.
Maybe.
And right now it's a national shame.
Maybe when the powers that be see this, they hand the zoo over.
Well, no, it's gonna be a long thing. I gotta convince a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. That's gonna take at least a year or two, I think.
I just want to touch on again, business and under us not fully utilizing the resources, especially in this day and age. And I'm also guilty of it. Like I'm learning, and it does take a learning curve. But how can we sort of channel AI to make our lives easier? And I know like there's a lot of talk about. It's funny because, people are now being like, "Oh, AI is so dangerous," and blah blah. It's not really dangerous for us.
No, because it's not actually what you think it is.
Well,
right? It
at
doesn't
least
think
on
by
this
itself.
scale.
Yeah.
On this scale.
Yeah.
And the internet and companies tracking our information are way more threatening to our well-being, I would say.
Yeah.
I would argue.
Well, again, like with Facebook events, they can do something called lookalike audiences. So based on people who've converted before, they can just start targeting anybody and everybody because they have all your data, right? You should probably be worried more about that than anything else.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes you think that you've said something in front of your phone and you start seeing ads?
That happens to me every day.
But you know that they're not actually listening to your audio. What's happening is because they have such an in-depth profile of you,
yeah.
they know what you're thinking before you even say it.
Yeah.
They've served it up before you can
Yeah.
even think to have that cognitive.
And that's based on like a numbers game with analyzing millions of people.
You've been on Facebook. I've been on Facebook since 2007, right?
Yeah.
They almost have like 15 years, more than 15 years of my
hate
data.
it, bro. But at the same time though, I've been having neck pain, right?
Okay.
For the past 3 weeks.
You know why? Because it knows that you're getting to an age where majority of young men have neck pain.
Bullshit. Nobody in my circle, except maybe my wife, has neck pain, and I haven't even.
Okay, but maybe it knows that you like. Do you have on Facebook that you work for real?
Yeah.
Maybe it knows that you work behind a computer most of the time. Maybe it knows that you're 30 or mid or early 30s, and maybe it just knows. All right, well let's start serving him up some ads.
But right in the month period that I started
Oh
getting
well,
it,
maybe I don't know.
it's crazy because I've been talking about it a lot, which
Yeah.
is why. Even if it's not listening to you, never.
Yeah.
You don't
Something is
feel-
happening that
something is
yeah.
happening outside of my
No,
control.
something crazy is happening.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's listening, but something crazy is happening. But onto
We'll see.
the AI thing. Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get.
Airplane mode.
Well, I'll start getting ads for like Cincinnati Zoo because that's what I've been. Cincinnati Zoo is one of the really good models of a zoo that's been privatized.
No way.
Yeah. To AI though, I went to this conference the other day, on Friday, at Marriott. Did you see the advert for that?
No.
Roshan Khan and them were pushing it, and it was something. It was I was sitting in that room, and I think I might have been the only person in that room actually making money utilizing AI tools.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone coming up were just like, I mean, it was a glorified long form sales pitch. Have you ever been to one of those events?
Yep.
Like not Tony Robbins, but like I went to a Robert Kiyosaki one, the first one I ever got caught into. Robert spoke for 40 minutes to the end. That was great. 8 hours before was just, this is what we do and this is what we can do for you and blah, blah, blah. And
It's
it just
these vague revolutionary
so vague.
ideas. Yeah.
None of them had very little to do with their job. There's one guy who actually looked like he was a data scientist, and the rest of them were just, I don't know. It's
Those things I find, and again, not
No,
this
okay.
one specifically. I don't know what that was like, but a lot of these, I don't know, symposiums or whatever, conferences.
it's a sales thing.
It just feels like a lot of fancy talk.
Yeah.
It feels like you said, this big sales pitch.
And
That's
if
like,
it's free, you're
I'm not
probably
sure
the
what
product.
just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened.
And at the end of it, we had to walk through, and they were just trying to show us their like products and whatever because I had left early, and they're like, no, come, and it was okay. They were just kind of creating things that it was just, I don't know, man. There seems to be, especially here, maybe in the rest of the world as well, because it's this big mystique of what it is, and I don't know for a fact, right? I don't work for OpenAI, but people get mixed up with like smart systems and AI. Like you can create a smart system like intelligently designed to do things for you, right? So that like when someone comes in, yes, no, yes, it's just a lot of if questions
Yeah.
and mixing it up with what is probably AI, right? Like I just did a project with TCG, which I used OpenAI's Whisper software on like a local service, and we transcribed hundreds of hours worth of audio using large language models.
So break that down into very simple terms.
Okay.
We've already spoken about this,
yeah.
but I just want to.
So I did a project where they're funded by USAID, and they went around doing hundreds of interviews with like stakeholders, whether it's private or like a local government or whoever it was.
And they're recording audio.
Exactly. Right. So they're asking questions, and they're just, it's very good, and they're getting like the needs and the wants of the people. But they have this need to then transcribe it. And normally they do it very manually, and they'll have tens of people like just doing it manually,
So
hours and
to
hours and
transcribe
hours.
it, they'll take this recording audio and then they'll type out verbatim.
Listen to it.
whatever
Yeah,
you wanna say.
yeah. And normally, like
It's horrible.
in Australia, I know that it was quoted that normally your transcription speed is about 3 times audio length. So for every hour, it takes you 3 hours to do it properly, which means you could only really get done like 2, maybe 3 a day if you're pushing it past 8 hours, you know?
Yeah.
But then using this software, I was running at half the speed of audio. So for every hour, it took me half an hour,
AI transcribed it,
twice the speed of audio.
but there had to be some errors given the Guyanese
yeah.
accent.
No. So I'd fine tuned it by running it, like I think it got better and better, but I fine tuned it to like some just basic resource stuff. And towards the end, it got to like 99.2%. Like it was.
So let me get this
accurate.
clear. The more AI analyzed,
The more
audio
data it collects.
with the Guyanese accent,
Yeah.
the smarter it gets to transcribe.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it still had like odd names, like our friend Serena kept messaging me because in the transcription, it spelled her name Serena. And I was like, no, it's Sarina. How are we supposed to know that? It's it's pronounced whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't really change the
No.
info.
No.
I guess.
And then they had someone who ran through it anyway and like topped it up
Yeah.
and fixed it up. And
Well, I guess, and honestly, like when someone runs through it, it's just very basic correction.
Yeah,
You could speed read and
well, for these guys, right? What it did was when you ask about like utility and how it can be useful, this NGO, they would spend, I think I did 300 recordings, takes 3 hours. So 900 hours took me 200,
Wow.
right? Like and then the time spent, like it worked out to be cheaper and easier because they didn't have to organize tens of people. They didn't have to like,
But this is an opportunity for middlemen like you to do that, right? I mean, once you have, not to put that out
Middlemen.
there.
oof, my ego.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
all right. I just happen to be a guy who happens to have the software.
Because the NGO, the reason I'm saying this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
because the NGO can just do that themselves.
They
It's just
could.
because they don't.
Well, you know what's funny though? It just, if you could find it, like it when it first came out in December when ChatGPT was first a thing, I was back in Australia. I wasn't really doing much, so I spent lots and lots of time just like playing with it.
Yeah.
And then I happened to be part of the developer loop to get it on my computer, which I don't think you could do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like a level of expertise that I happened to have, but I didn't go to school for. I just kind of flapped around on my computer for a couple hours, a couple of days, couple of weeks.
So you self-taught how
Yeah,
to.
it was not that hard.
So you can't.
And when things went wrong, I would just go to GitHub and
Yeah.
because there's forums of people who are also enthusiasts
Yeah,
to
yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy the resource the internet
Yeah.
is. I'm sorry for calling you a middleman.
No, it's okay.
I
my
was
ex-
just saying that.
My ex one day we're sitting in bed and she's like, I didn't think about it. You're kind of just a glorified salesman. And I was like, I mean,
Oh no.
you're not wrong. Guess. Just selling dreams instead of selling products.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
No, well, I'm excited. I hope people can utilize that. It's funny because
Well,
keep saying that it's funny.
I was saying
but-
to you the other day, it is funny because like I don't do long form work anymore. I refuse it.
Yeah.
So like if I have to write like all my business proposals or whatever, I've gone to a point where I'm fairly confident enough that I tell it like because I've trained it to to my background and my thoughts and how I like to do things, and then I will just produce some ideas and what I want, and then we'll run through and it'll just produce like the first draft. I'm like, okay, cool. But that's not how I would do it. What I want is this, and this, move it up there, and then it'll just redo, and then, all right, expand on this. I didn't like that idea. No, move that. So
Yeah.
like, it's not quite as cool as Jarvis in Iron Man, but like,
Yeah,
as far as like nerdy admin goes, it's kind of there.
for sure. I think also just utilizing it for specific parameters to
Exactly.
help with efficiency.
Yeah. I mean, it's not creative, right?
No.
But it allows you to, instead of, it helps get rid of your writer block. I'm sure you've had it like where
Yeah.
you're like, I don't know how to write this or structure this.
But you know something? Let me just jump in there. The other day I was at one of my best friend's wedding, right? And I was a groomsman, and he asked me to give a speech, and myself and one of our other best friends was giving a speech as well. We were both groomsmen, and the other groomsman was saying, "Oh yeah," he showed me a speech, and I was like, because I was writing mine like up until the day, like the groomsmen are getting ready at the wedding. I'm in a corner sweating writing this. And I pride myself on being you're fairly good with writing or whatever. Not amazing, but solid. And the other groomsman was like, oh yeah, I just got AI to write it. You just put in your ideas and it'll structure it for you. And his speech was good. Um, the content was his. AI didn't write that.
No.
The structure was written, but I personally refused to write something emotionally important
Yeah.
using AI.
Yeah.
Because I
Which is
feel like to me it's just like it's cheating and it's not. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I feel dirty doing it.
Okay, but because that's a speech from your heart, all right?
Yeah.
Like there's definitely use cases.
No,
Because I
for
wouldn't,
sure.
I wouldn't do that either.
Job letters for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying some things.
The
you know,
really
I think-
generic things that really shouldn't be exist. Like I think cover letters for jobs are dumb.
Yeah.
Just copy and paste the whole requirements for the job. And
You
just,
still have to edit though. Let's not
a little
fool
bit.
people
Yeah.
about that.
Oh no, it doesn't do all the
Yeah.
work for you, but it
Yeah.
gets rid of your creative block.
Yeah.
So like I was doing a website the other day and for No Glue for Shania, and I was like, I don't know how it's like. There's a piece missing here, so I just kind of copy and pasted. Hey, tell me what you think you should put. I'm like, oh no, you should have a about us and should say this and maybe write a nice piece about this. I'm like, oh, great thinking. All right, cool. I did that, and then it just again all of a sudden looked balanced again. So I was like, great.
Yeah.
And instead of like just sitting there for hours trying to decide what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
within an hour, I kind of like, yeah,
So we're pulling up on an hour and a half, so I just want to
okay, we should wrap it.
do Well, I
You want me to
could
transcribe this or
how much you charging me?
nah, for free?
But you're just a middleman, so I could probably do it myself.
I am a solution architect.
Okay.
All right,
No, dude, I really appreciate you coming
yeah,
here.
it's great. Good game.
And this is the kind of thing that I want to happen, like just sharing ideas, being really open. I know a lot of people are caged. Like it would be so easy for you to say, nah, man, I don't want to share my stuff publicly. Like
Well, I haven't given
want
you
that.
all my ideas yet.
No, 100%. But the thing is, like, I respect you so much for just saying what you know, and because there's so many people in our position. Hell, I'm one of those people. Like, us just talking about it gives me ideas. Not necessarily the same as yours, but just like, oh, maybe I could apply this to this other thing I'm thinking about, and that's the forum.
And that's how
we're
we
trying to-
all go forward.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's the forum.
It's collaboration.
And if I can get some of those like big business people like you talk about, like to come and do this, that would be amazing. They wouldn't be better than you. Or,
No.
or
Different
but
insight.
Different insight.
I don't
based on
run $100 million empire. It might
Exactly.
be nice to get what is a day in the life of an emperor?
100%, 100%. But man, I thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I hope you're coming back.
Yeah. Well, give me a couple months and I'll tell you all how many Hail Marys have landed and what's happening.
Fantastic.
There's a great meme though. Before we finish, it's not a meme. It's like a quote picture thing, and it said, "The people at the bottom are competing, and the people at the top are collaborating." And so I feel so open about just coming and having real conversations because we all just need to be collaborating at the top instead of competing for the scraps at the bottom.
On that note, appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
All right.